So it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Stan Lee.
Come here, entertain me. What's this all about?
So what we're going to do real quick, folks, you guys can take all the photos you want, but we're going to go by line. You've got to get your stuff signed. So if you guys allow us to take your items out and sign while we're talking and asking questions, okay?
We're just going to start from this row, and we're going to work our way back.
You gave the rules, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
It's whatever you want.
What are we going to do?
Basically, they're going to ask you questions, and we're going to be grabbing their stuff.
What if I don't know the answer?
You're good. You'll be good.
Hell of a responsibility.
Mark right here with help if you need any help.
All right.
Folks, thank you so much for coming out. Obviously, this is a man who needs no introduction, but what we're
I never get an introduction.
Because there's not enough adjectives, Stan. The great, the stupendous, the wonderful,
I like
fantastic.
that. I like that.
Too many go. So we're going to take some questions from you guys. If you guys have a question you'd like to ask Stan, please ask it, and I'll make sure that we get it.
What if I don't know the answer?
You can create the answer.
I'll make it up.
Yes, absolutely. Who would like to kick off some audience questions?
Let's
start right there with Jean Gray. Stand up and ask your question, please.
So a few weeks ago, Sony released a statement that kind of speculated that there may be a spin-off of the Spider-Man movie, but with a female role.
Yep, there's 3 of us.
Okay,
So
there's Sony Pictures announced that they made you a Spider-Man.
Oh no, that's
movie,
okay. It's all right then.
Role, like maybe possibly a Spider-Woman movie. Have you heard anything about that? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I really have not heard about it, but Marvel will do anything that they think will bring people into the theater. And that's a good idea. They'll probably have it pretty soon. But I don't know officially.
It'd be great to see a Black Cat movie.
They want to see a Black Cat movie, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Black Cat, there'll be a Black Cat. I guarantee it.
Back there, you sir. Stand up, please, yes.
You guys?
I was curious, out of all the characters that you thought of, which one are you surprised got the most attention?
Out of all the characters that you created, which one are you surprised received the most attention?
Was I surprised that it did well?
Like, received the most attention from fans?
Oh, which people? I think probably Spider-Man when it came out. Everybody was surprised about that one. They hadn't been expecting that. Neither had my publisher.
Let's go over here. Who wants to ask a question? Anybody? Nobody? Right here? Yes.
Of all the different characters that you've written for, is there a couple that you would prefer to actually write for, or like some of your favorites?
Are there characters that you've created or that you've written for that you prefer writing for? Like maybe some that are your favorites?
I really enjoyed writing for all of them, but one that I got a kick out of was the Silver Surfer, because he was the one where I philosophized with him, and a little bit more than the others. And years ago, I enjoyed writing Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos, because I enjoyed having them talk tough.
They're great comics.
But they're all fun. I got a kick out of writing all of them, because if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't have done it, and I'd have starved to death.
Let's go over here on this side. Yes, right here, Spider-Man. Yes, question.
What advice could you give someone like me who dreams about being a comic book writer?
What advice would you give this young man who dreams about being a comic book writer in the Spider-Man outfit right here?
Dreams of being a comic book writer?
Yes, comic book writer.
Write good stories. No, the toughest thing in the world is when somebody says, what advice would you give me? I want to be a writer, or I want to be an artist. I don't know. I don't know how to advise them. Just do it. Do it as best you can and hope that it'll be good. I don't know how to give any advice in areas like that.
Okay. Behind, yes, sir.
Stan, who was your favorite Marvel artist, and what artist do you think was best for each of the major titles? Who was your favorite? And just another quick question. The Canadian connection with Marvel is pretty strong. Do you remember appearing on a talk show, our version of The Tonight Show, called 9 Minutes Live back in the 70s?
Show called what?
Okay, 90 Minutes Live.
Yes, that was years ago.
Yeah.
And I liked that guy very much. I remember.
Those were great bits, and that was, I think, when the Canadians first got a chance to get to know you.
This is the first opportunity for Canadians to get a chance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they still invited me?
But if I could follow up my first question, who was your favorite Marvel comic book artist, and what artist was the best with the big titles like Thor, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four? Who was the one you liked the best?
Who was
What
your
was the second part of that?
Who's your favorite comic book artist, and who do you think was the best artist for the Thor titles, like Thor, Spider-Man, those titles?
Oh, I think Jack Kirby was definitely the one for the Thor group. But Jack was probably my favorite artist, although there were so many other great ones. There was John Romita, John Buscema, Gene Colan, it goes on and on. Gil Kane. Everyone who worked for us did such a great job. But Jack was an incredible artist. When he drew, he would just put the pencil on the paper and start drawing. He never made a preliminary sketch or anything. It was as though he had the drawing in his mind and he was just tracing it on the paper. It was incredible to watch him.
There you go. Right here, sir.
Terrific. Thank you, Stan.
You're welcome. Yeah, I heard that.
Which Marvel character that was adapted to film do you think was adapted most faithfully?
Which Marvel character that was adapted into a movie do you think was adapted most faithfully?
I think the X-Men and the Spider-Man movies were very faithful. I think the Fantastic Four didn't quite follow the line that I would have wanted. But the others, Daredevil was a little bit off too. But Spider-Man and the Avengers and Captain America and Thor, they're wonderful, I think. But of course, I'm prejudiced.
Thank you. Let's go over here, yes, sir.
Yeah, Sam, what's your favorite Errol Flynn movie?
What's your favorite Errol Flynn movie?
Oh, Errol Flynn. Captain Blood, Robin Hood. He was wonderful. He was really terrific. He was my idea of a hero. But then I'm corny.
Let's go this young man right here. Yes.
How was your inspiration to create Iron Man?
What was your inspiration to create Iron Man?
Well, I wanted to go against what everybody was into. At the time of Iron Man, the readers they hated the establishment. They didn't care for people who were in the munitions business. And I wanted to get somebody who represented all the things that the young people didn't like at that time and make a hero out of him. It was just a challenge to me. So I had this billionaire munitions maker as the hero. But then to make you sympathize with him, I gave him a heart that was injured and he might die at any moment. And it was fun writing Iron Man. I got to tell you, Robert Downey Jr. plays that role so perfectly, you can't picture anybody else doing it. And I know you didn't ask me about that. That was a little extra.
Let's go far in the back. Yes, in the black shirt. Yes, stand up right there.
If there are two guys wearing a black shirt, you're in a lot of trouble.
Like, why did you, when you wrote Spider-Man, why did you put Peter Parker with his aunt and uncle instead of mom and dad?
So when you wrote Spider-Man, how come you had Peter Parker with his aunt and uncle instead of mother and father?
Because I planned one day to write a story about what happened to his mother and father and make that interesting and mysterious. I think I did that in a big issue of Spider-Man, didn't I? But that was why. I wanted to get a little mystery in his life. Why an aunt and uncle? I wanted you to wonder about that. And apparently you did.
Okay, I got a comment and a question. The question would be, when did you realize you were such a great movie star, considering the cameo you did in the library with you having the headphones on and everything slowly behind you was one of the best scenes ever?
When did you realize you were such a great movie star, especially because of your cameo in the library?
Me?
Yes, you.
I always wondered why I wasn't picked to star in any of those movies. If you think I was really that great and I admire your judgment, I'd like you to send a few notes to the studio.
For sure.
At the time Stan got a bigger role. But I enjoy doing those. They're a lot of fun. Tell you a funny thing about it. I had to go to do a cameo somewhere once, and I was wearing a pair of blue jeans and black shoes and a white shirt. And I walk in and they say, you gotta go to wardrobe. So I went to the wardrobe department and the girl said, you have to wear a pair of black shoes, jeans, and a white shirt. We have them for you. I said, don't bother, I'm wearing them now. She said, no, you have to wear our jeans and shoes. And I had to take off my clothes and put on their clothes that were exactly the same. But that's Hollywood.
That's funny, thank you.
Right behind you, yes, in black shirt.
I was just wondering what the comic code did for comic books when it was established. Did it change how you wrote comics due to like the change? They wanted to change how violent comics were.
Are you talking about the Comics Code Authority?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did the Comics Code Authority do for you in terms of like when it started to change comics and how they were written? How did you deal with that?
Really didn't affect us at all because they were against violence and sex. And we didn't have any sex in our books, and I didn't consider what we did violent. I don't like violence, I just like action. So they didn't bother us much, but there was one very funny thing I've got to tell you about. But I can't be signing while I tell you, because I have to make a hand motion, and if we can hold it a minute. I got one page back from the Comic Code Authority as being objectionable. It was in a Western story, and there was one panel they objected to, and I'm going to describe the panel. It showed a hand holding a gun, pulling the trigger, and from the barrel of the gun, there was a straight line indicating the trajectory of the bullet, and there was a puff of smoke indicating that, I don't know what it indicated, but the artist drew a puff of smoke and the straight line. You didn't see the bullet. So it was just a shot of a hand holding a gun, here's the gun barrel, a puff of smoke, and a straight line. They sent that back as being too objectionable. So there are no flies on me. I phoned them and I said, what's objectionable about it? And this is the part you'll have trouble believing. They said the puff of smoke was too big. I swear. So I saved the reading public from that horror by getting the page back, and I made the puff of smoke smaller, and they okayed it. And that's a true story, crazy as it sounds.
Let's go over here in the red shirt.
What do you think about hidden messages in comics? An example, your Universe X fighting when they have the author write all that stuff in there.
What do you think about hidden messages in comics when writers or artists put hidden messages in different things?
I never ran into that. I never put them in, and I wasn't aware of anybody else doing it, so if they're already hidden messages, it's news to me.
What about the Universe X #1 that got recalled?
There was a Universe X issue that got recalled because a writer put in a hidden message. How do you feel about it?
Universe X?
Yeah, it was a Marvel Universe X.
I don't even know what Universe X is.
It's after Stan's writing days. So.
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah.
And there was a hidden message? What was the message?
Recall, the guy got fired.
The guy got fired because it was recalled because he put a hidden message.
No,
I have a picture I can show you if you'd like to see it.
See, I learned more from you than you. I didn't know anything about
it. It says, Bob Harass, haha, he's gone. Good riddance to bad rubbish. He was a nasty SOB.
Wow. Stan doesn't believe in hidden messages. All the way back in the red shirt.
I might be putting a hidden message in this signature.
Stan, you're a great entrepreneur. What would you say was kind of the part with Marvel where you felt maybe we're not going to make it, and how did you get back up and out?
He was pointing out that you're a great entrepreneur. What did you feel was the part or a time in Marvel where you thought maybe it wasn't going to make it, and how did you get it back out of that slump?
I like the part about me being a great entrepreneur. I never knew that. Well, there were times when Marvel wasn't doing too well, but the only thing we could do was try to write better stories and keep the readers coming. One of the worst things that ever happened was my publisher, Martin Goodman, he had a financial advisor, and the guy was an idiot. But Martin kept him around because Martin liked to play golf, and this guy was a good golfer, so they played a lot of golf. One day, this guy advised Martin to give up the company that was distributing his books. He said, why pay anybody to distribute your books? Do it yourself. And Martin took his advice, and he found out that he couldn't distribute the books himself. He needed a distributor, but he had given the guy up. And it was the dumbest business decision anyone ever made, and because of that, he had to go to DC Comics and beg them to distribute his books. Had to go to his closest competitor. And at that time, Martin had been doing about 40 books a month, and DC limited him to 12 a month. And he had to take it, and from there, we built it up again, and finally he left DC. But I forget what the question was, but I hope I answered.
I think you did a good job. Yeah, that's great. Let's go to the gray shirt right here.
Well, number one is, how do you feel about transitioning from comics to the movies? And did you ever think that your comics would be this large worldwide?
How do you feel about transitioning from comics to movies? And did you ever feel like your comic books would be as big as they are today?
In a million years, I never would have suspected that I would one day be at a convention like this, signing autographs and being asked questions like that. We just hoped the books would sell so that we could keep our job and pay the rent. We never thought ever someday there'd be movies and there'd be comic book conventions and people would ask questions. I still can't believe it.
Let's go over here.
What's the most profound lesson you've learned in your life?
What's the most profound lesson you've learned in your life?
I don't know. I have to think about that a little bit. The most profound lesson. Come to a lot of comic book conventions. That does you a lot of good. Keeps the fans with you. I really don't know of any profound lessons I've learned. You know?
How about love your wife?
Love your wife?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, you'd better, boy. I'm terrified of my wife. All you people are so nice to me, and then when I go home, I say, hi, Joni. She says, take the garbage out. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, stand up.
What am I doing? What am I doing?
Can you repeat it? It's hard to hear.
There you go.
If you could make a hero from scratch right now, who would it be?
A hero who scratches?
No. A hero from scratch. Like if you were to just come up with a hero right now, who would it be?
Well, the first thing I'd have to do is think of a superpower. And I think all the superpowers have been given out already. I'm doing that though. I'm doing that in movies. We're working on, I have a little company called POW Entertainment, P-O-W exclamation point. And of course you've all figured out that stands for Purveyors of Wonder. And we're doing a number of movies. One of them we have a character called The Annihilator. Just wait till you see him. And he has a superpower that you haven't seen before, but I can't tell you what it is. The toughest thing is dreaming up a superpower that hasn't been used. I've used them all, and if I haven't, DC has. But I can't tell you how to dream up a superpower because I don't want any competition.
Go with this young man right here in the red shirt.
Who was your first Marvel hero?
Who was your very first Marvel hero that you created?
I think it was someone called the Destroyer. At least I've heard that. Nobody ever showed me a copy of it, but people like him keep telling me it was the Destroyer. And I'm not going to call a guy this big a liar.
Black shirt right here in the Iron Man.
Yeah, question, just wondering, in regards to the black characters that are already available in Marvel, is it
does it become an issue when they use current heroes and change the colors of them in the movies, as opposed to using the stock of the black characters that are already available?
In terms of the black characters that are in the Marvel Universe, does it become an issue if they use those characters in the movies and use the different races, if they change them and they're no longer a black character? How do you feel about that in terms of
Well, the only changes I can think of are the Kingpin in the Daredevil movie. He had been white in the book and he was black in the movie.
And Nick Fury was original.
Colonel Fury was white in the book and he's black in the. I think that's fine.
And the Fantastic Four movie, apparently, Human Torch.
How do you feel about in the new Fantastic Four movie they're going to make the Human Torch black man?
I didn't know they were. It'll probably be interesting. I have no problem with that at all.
Spider-Man?
What has been your favorite, number one, what has been your favorite movie cameo appearance, and what does Excelsior mean?
What has been your favorite cameo appearance that you've made so far?
Oh, I love them all, but actually my favorite, I can't tell you about it. I'm not allowed to tell you, but it was in the Avengers movie, which is going to come out. It is very funny. I know nobody wants to see the Avengers movie, but go anyway.
His other question was, what does Excelsior mean?
Oh, Excelsior means, it has two meanings. If you look it up in a dictionary, the first meaning, it's those little shavings they use in a package when you send something from the store and they don't want it to be broken or rattled. They put little shavings in, that's called Excelsior. That's not what it means when I write it. The second meaning, and I saw the word Excelsior on the Great Seal of the state of New York, that's where I first saw it. It means upward and onward to greater glory. Now what could be better than that? And the competition doesn't know how to spell it, so they'll never use it.
I want to get someone who hasn't asked a question yet. Let's go right here, sir, the Marvel shirt. Yeah. Oh, you have asked a question.
Anybody in a Marvel shirt, you pay attention.
This young man in the black shirt right there.
What was your favorite hero that didn't make it as big as Thor or the whole Spider-Man?
What was your favorite hero that didn't make it as big as Thor or Spider-Man? Like, do you have a favorite character that you wished had become bigger?
I don't know, they all became pretty big. Maybe Daredevil, because that first movie didn't quite do it. But they're going to do another movie, and it'll be... Daredevil is a great character. They just didn't do him right in that first movie.
Yeah, they've got a new TV series coming out for Daredevil. Let's go right here in the cat.
Which character do you think you put most of yourself into?
Which character do you feel you put most of yourself into?
Oh, I guess Iron Man, because he's handsome and he's rich and wealthy.
Great answer.
I don't know. I don't try to put myself, well, actually, when I write any one of them, including the villain, I imagine I'm on that character at the moment, and I'm writing what would he or she say. But that's all. I mean, I'm every one of them when I'm writing them. But when I stop writing them, I'm not them anymore. I don't want you to think I go around thinking I'm a lot of people.
Great, sugar.
Do you have any hobbies?
How many what?
Do you have any hobbies?
Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, going to conventions. And this might as well be my hobby. I seem to do it all the time.
Black shirt, right here.
Is there any of your characters who haven't transitioned to TV or movies you'd like to see happen before something happens? But you'd like to see while you're here?
Is there any of your characters that have not yet made the transition to TV or movies that you would like to see make that transition?
All of them. And they're all going to do it. I mean, you'll be seeing Doctor Strange, you'll be seeing the Inhumans, you'll be seeing Ant-Man, everyone we have will be a movie or a TV show sooner or later, because we're not so dumb.
Blue shirt. Yes.
Out of the characters that were created not by you, who did you feel was one that you wish you had created?
Is there a character that you did not create that you wish you had created?
Wolverine. I don't know how I let him get away.
Yeah, go right here.
As a newly married man, what marriage advice would you have for a young man?
This gentleman is newly married, and he would like to know what marriage advice do you have for him as a newly married young man?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Just be good to each other, I think, and be tolerant. Your mate won't always do or say exactly what you want, but then neither do you. So just be forgiving, and I don't know. And cross your fingers and hope it works out.
Someone who hasn't asked a question, over here in the black shirt.
With all the different movie franchises being owned by different movie studios, do you ever foresee or think that there'll be an amalgamation where Marvel has all their products under one roof again and have like some giant crossover, Civil War-esque type of film?
Considering how a lot of the properties are spread out through different movie studios, do you ever foresee a day when all of the Marvel characters will be under one roof and then they can do a movie where like every character crosses over with no problems between the studios?
Marvel would love that to happen, and there are lawyers working on it all the time. But it's a very difficult thing. The companies that have the rights to Marvel characters aren't about to give those rights up because the movies make too much money for them. So I don't know if Marvel will ever get them all under one roof. But they are trying and hoping, and I certainly hope it'll. Can you imagine what a movie that would be? All of the characters in one movie. Wow. And I'd probably get even a bigger cameo.